Hey everyone, my name is Sammy and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute, but in today's video, I'm going to be going over the essays that I wrote that got me accepted into the University of Michigan. And I'm going to be publishing two videos on this. This video, I'll be going over the essays that every single applicant has to write when applying to the University of Michigan, regardless of what major or school they're trying to get into. And the other video I'll be making on this will be regarding the Ross portfolio for those who are interested in applying to the Ross School of Business and the essays that come along with that portfolio. So for this video, the format of this video, I'll be going over two essays, and that's going to be the community essay and the Why Michigan essay. And I'll be going over the prompts and also covering not only what I wrote in response to those prompts, but the specific way I chose to address these essays and why I chose to follow the specific structure in the most optimal format. And so hopefully this video will be helpful to any incoming seniors in high school who are looking to apply to Michigan or go through the college admissions process overall, and things to keep in mind when you guys are approaching these college essays. So hopefully it'll be helpful, and without further ado, let's get into it. So to get started, the first essay that I'm going to be covering is the community essay. And the prompt for this essay is: everyone belongs to many different communities and or groups defined by shared geography, religion, ethnicity, income, cuisine, interest, race, ideology, or intellectual heritage. Choose one of the communities to which you belong and describe that community and your place within it. And for this essay, there is a minimum of 100 words and a maximum of 300 words. So this essay is going to be relatively medium to short length when it comes to the essay. And there are two things that I wanted to highlight with this specific essay and what the admissions officers want to see with this essay. And the first part is, you shouldn't just talk about what your group or community has done, but what you personally contributed to that group. And the second point is, you want to talk a little bit more about how you connected with your community and what qualities you have developed as a result of you being in this specific community. So for this specific essay, there was a format that I followed, and the first part of it is my introduction and hook. I kind of talk about why I wanted to be part of this community and what it meant to me. And in terms of the actual content, I clearly talk about what exactly this community is and what I do within this community. And I also talk about what qualities I have developed as a result of my involvement in this community. And then lastly, I wrap it up with a quick conclusion. I talk about what I learned and what I hope to grow as a result of being in this community. So when I started this essay off, my introduction, I really talked about why I wanted to be part of this community and the significance of this community and what it meant to me. And so for me, the reason I wanted to be a part of this community was to help address social and political changes. And I achieved this by starting off my essay with a quick anecdote of me going around doing legislative canvassing and talking to the locals in my community and asking them about issues that they were facing and wanted to see fixed. And they said a variety of different issues like, fixing roads, improving voting accessibility, and lowering taxes. And as I was listening to these issues, that's exactly what inspired me to join the specific community, because I actually wanted to take action to help with these issues that so many people around me wanted to see solved. And so by starting my essay in this specific way, I kind of showed the reader why exactly I wanted to be in this community, what I wanted to accomplish, and it also kind of shows the admissions officer the close attachment that I held within this community. So moving on over to the content section, the first part I addressed was what exactly this community is and what I did within this community. Make sure to clarify what your community is, because not everyone's going to know what it is. So in my essay, I described my community as a community that was committed to achieving positive changes through political engagement. And I said that this group provides a supportive outlet for teens who want to get involved in politics. Then I kind of move over into what I did within this community. I talk about how I had the opportunity to workshop policy proposals, organize local events, and have conversations with adults to understand their political concerns. I also mentioned how I worked on a project about proposing a law of my own to help reduce plastic waste around the world. I mentioned how I attended workshops and listened to guest speakers who have helped me stay informed about controversial issues affecting our country. And I will say with this specific aspect, I wish I had expanded on this part of the essay a little bit more. After reading my admissions file, I realized that the admissions officers wanted to see more about what I had contributed to my community. So this is an aspect that you guys should make sure to really focus on when approaching this essay. After this part, I kind of move over into what this community has done for me and the qualities that I have developed as a result of me being involved in this community. So I talk about how, working firsthand with my state district representative, I was able to observe how a politician proposes the law and how I've learned unique problem-solving skill techniques and improved my own communication skills. I also talk about how helping and plan a political fundraising event allowed me to have more financial insight about the complexities of running a political campaign. And the reason I talk about this aspect in my essay is that I want to talk about how this community has shaped me to become a better applicant with more desirable qualities than the people around me. And then lastly, I wrap up my essay. Again, like I mentioned before, this is a relatively short essay, so I only wrapped it up within a couple of sentences. And I really just talked about how having a direct line to an official has allowed me to seek meaningful changes, and I hope to continue my involvement with this community in college and become a greater force for improvement both locally and nationally. So by saying this sentence at the very end, I showed that this community to me wasn't a one and done situation. I wanted to show the admissions officers that this was something that I wanted to continue doing even after high school, and that this community has allowed me and inspired me to take social change, and I wanted to continue doing that down the road. So that's essentially the format that I took on this essay and why I decided to structure it in that specific way. So for the second and final essay that I'll be covering, it's going to be the Why Michigan essay. Now, the prompt for this essay is describe the unique qualities that attract you to the specific undergraduate college or school to which you are applying at the University of Michigan. How would that curriculum support your interests? Now, the word limit for this essay is 550 words, so it's certainly a lot longer than the previous essay. And to be frank with you, I do think that this is probably one of the more difficult essays to write, just because every single college that you apply to is going to ask this question, and it kind of sucks to write. But while it is hard to write, I do think that these kinds of essays can make or break your application, because this is where you can really show that you've done more research than anyone else that's been applying and set yourself apart. And I want you guys to think of this essay as almost like a marriage between you and your university and why it'd be a perfect marriage. Because obviously you want to boast about the school and the amazing programs and offerings that it has, but it's just as important, if not more important, to talk about what you would personally contribute to this school and why that university would be great for your specific needs. So that's essentially the approach that I was taking when targeting this essay. So the structure that I followed with this essay is relatively simple, but I'll expand more into it later on. I essentially start off with my introduction. I talk a little bit more about my interest in business and how I'm fascinated by it. And with the content, I really talk about the classes at Ross and tie them with my own personal experiences. And then I also talk about the different clubs and initiatives at Ross, and I also tie them with my own personal experiences. And then lastly, like as a conclusion, I talk about how I aim to use business and how being a student at Ross will allow me to achieve that. So diving into my essay, I start off with my introduction and talk about my interest in business. I start by talking about the business revolution of society and how I found it remarkable and how it's allowed us to have access to things like cell phones and self-driving cars. And I talk about how I hope to join this business revolution by joining Ross, where I can apply the integral business acumen that I've learned to real-world situations. Then afterwards, I kind of quickly glaze over how I had built a foundation of business through the various business classes that I've taken throughout high school, and how Ross would provide me with the framework to help build on the knowledge and skills I've developed in these classes. And by kind of putting that out there, I'm kind of building credibility for myself as an applicant by showing the readers that I have taken business classes, I have shown interest in this field, and I hope to build on that while I become a student at Ross. So after my introduction, I start talking about the different classes at Ross that I was interested in based on my own prior experiences. So I start off by talking about my time playing national level soccer and working directly with politicians and how that's allowed me to develop an attitude that positively embraces working with people. And because of this, I talk about how I was looking forward to taking a course like positive business communication, which would help me advance my positive leadership style to apply my expertise in business scenarios. Then after that, I kind of talk about my interest in finance and how I've strengthened my financial insight by helping a congressman raise money for his election campaign. And I talk about how I hope to advance my understanding of finance while learning how to help others through a specific class called Finance for Societal Good, which teaches students how to engage in ethical business ventures by using money philanthropically. After, mentioning a few classes, I start to really talk about the initiatives and clubs that really interested me at Ross. I start off by talking about how passionate I was about making an impact through charitable acts. So I talk about how I've organized community service events for student council. I helped start, a blood cancer campaign that raised thousands of dollars for cancer. And I talk about, I tied this into a specific aspect of Ross. So I said that I was looking forward to taking part in Ross's Business Plus Impact initiative, which embraces using business as a positive global force. And it also hoped to join the Center for Positive Organizations, which promotes DEI. And I hope to strengthen my awareness in the ways that businesses and charities widen their positive influence and help further my desire to help financially underserved establishments. Then after this, I kind of talk about my interest in the startup space since I was interested in starting my own business. And then I talk about the certain offerings that Ross has for people interested in doing their own startups. And so I talk about the financial aid provided to Ross students at the Zell Lurie Institute, where I'll be able to learn the skills necessary to start my own successful startup down the line. Then I kind of go back into my interest in finance, and I say as a woman looking to enter finance, which is a male-dominated industry, I was looking forward to joining the Michigan Businesswoman Club, and that would help me address the lack of women in business leadership positions and helped cultivate a strong culture with the women around me. So lastly, I then go into my conclusion, and I only did 1 or 2 sentences for my conclusion. I can read what I have written for my essay verbatim. I say, with intriguing classes, world-class programs, and a supportive business community, Ross will be the ideal place to study business. As I aim to use business as a force to better the world, I know Ross's missions and values will perfectly align with my vision. I look forward to the strong impact I will make at the University of Michigan. So I really only had 2 sentences for my conclusion. And honestly, it's nothing big. I just talk about what I want to use business for and why Ross is a perfect place for me to do that. And so that is essentially how I chose to approach my Why Michigan essay. So that wraps up my video for the essays that I wrote that got me accepted into the University of Michigan. And those were the specific structures that I've used to approach these essays. Obviously, what I did is probably not 100% correct, of course. Everyone has their own take on these essays, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, but hopefully it would have provided a little bit more insight as to how to tackle these essays as you have the chance to work on them moving forward. And if you have any questions about what I wrote or certain things that I said in this video, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. But I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.